Hello, listener. Welcome to the latest edition of the Wiggly Podcast. I think we're on 156 now. Today, you've just got the company of me, Richard, and the lovely Rachel Harries. Lovely to see you again.
Hello, Richard.
You're still here, aren't you?
I'm still here, yes.
Doing bits and bobs.
Bits and bobs.
All sorts of things.
Getting out of the office and sweeping leaves and things.
Yes, you had an interesting day, didn't you? You managed to escape the office yesterday.
I did.
For at least a couple of hours.
Couple of hours, yes.
And
when it wasn't
spent some quality
raining.
time with Hannah in the garden.
Yes.
What were you doing in the garden?
Well, yes, I wanted to see what she was doing, and really I just wanted an excuse to get out of the office and away from the computer for an hour or so. So I helped her sweep some leaves under the pretence of talking about what was going on and what she was doing. And
okay, and you took little Rover and Ricardo with you? And
I did, but I don't know if it'll work. We have to see if it'll work, because I didn't manage to find a dead cat to muffle the mic.
Right, okay. You almost you stood on Noah this morning, so I mean... I created a real dead cat.
Yeah, I heard you cheer when I did that, actually, Richard.
Well then,
but that's not as bad as when you shut him in the door.
No, that's fine.
And didn't even notice.
I didn't realise. I was told 3 days later, do you know you shut the cat in the door the other day? Nope. No, actually, I've got it's quite a sad story, really. Years ago, when I was in New Zealand, I was working on an apple orchard, picking apples, you know.
Do you think if we put a dead cat on your mic, it would stop that rustling noise that you're making?
Possibly. I'm going to take my coat off, though, and that'll be that, and I'll stop rustling then. But anyway, back to my story. No more interruptions. Back to my ace story. Well, it's quite a sad story. We were sharing these two houses, right? And me and a couple of other guys sharing this one house, and then the other house was full of girls. Anyway, of course, we used to spend practically every night in the house with all the girls. As you do. And the saddest thing is one of the girls had this lovely little kitten that she'd adopted. It was everyone's mate, you know, we seemed to enjoy the company of the little kitten. We went over to the lad's house after a few beers and smokes and things like that one night. 20 minutes later, we heard this wailing and crying and gnashing of teeth. I thought, what on earth could be going on? Anyway, we went over there, and the saddest thing was one of the girls had shut the cat in the door and squashed its head.
Oh my goodness!
And killed it. And the poor little thing was sort of break dancing, and you know, in the bedroom floor at its last throes of life. And it was, I laugh now. I should have laughed, but it was very sad at the time. There were lots of tears and tribulations off the back of that. So yeah, it's never a good idea to shut a cat in the door, because they're not the most intelligent of creatures, and they do often put themselves in those ridiculous situations. You know, so
wow.
Yeah. So I'm glad I didn't do any permanent damage. Would have obviously it might have jeopardised the longevity of my post with Wiggly's as well. So yeah. So anyway, so I'm glad.
I have a feeling that you've just told us that story quite gleefully, actually, Richard.
I did tell you another story the other day, didn't I, about a pigeon, but I'll save that for another day when we're talking about pigeon.
Save that one.
So you had a great day in the garden. Yesterday, I wanted to do several things in our lovely county, so I wanted to speak to a couple who have recently bought and set up and improved a company called EnviroShred, and these guys go and pick up confidential documents, quite literally shred it into a pulp, and they feed it to their worms. And they've got these massive, great worm beds. The lady, she approached us a couple of weeks ago to see whether we might be interested in buying worms from them. So I wanted to go up because I wanted to go somewhere else. So I had a fantastic chat. Here's our little chat. Okay, well, I'm just on the edge of the Herefordshire border as I gaze over this wonderful valley in front of me. I can see what is Powys. It's a beautiful day. Very cold up here, but I've come to see a couple of guys who run a company called EnviroShred, Andrew and Diane, and they go around the countryside and pick up people's confidential, commercially sensitive documents and feed them to their worms, effectively.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, hello, guys. Nice to see you.
Hi, Richard.
You live in a wonderful part of the world up here.
Yeah, we're a bit out of the way.
How long have you been here?
We've been here, it'll be 3 years in April.
Okay, I see you've done a wonderful job of your house. You've renovated a place up here.
Well, we've built it from scratch, actually. It's,
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, not even
renovated. I believe there was a property down the fields.
Further down the fields, but not much left of that one now, I'm afraid.
No.
Right, brilliant. And you've got some of the most astonishing views in Herefordshire, probably.
It's some lovely. Yeah, we're looking over Prestine and Stapleton, and we can see Norton.
And and you're only up the road from one of the best pubs in the country as well, the Stag at Titley.
That's right, yeah. If we're ever trying to give directions to people, we always say the Stag, and they seem to find us.
The Stag.
Yeah, we don't go there at all, of course.
Not
very often.
No, I can imagine. No. Well, it's not as expensive as it might be, is it? Not really. I mean, people often think, Stag's really pricey, but it's not too bad.
No, it's not actually.
I think it's one of those few places you pay for what you get.
That's right. Yeah, it's lovely actually.
Very convenient.
Now I've done my promotional stuff for the Stag. I'll send them a copy of the CD. Get a free meal.
That's right, yeah. You might struggle to get that.
Yeah, I think you're right, yeah. Anyway, shall we go and have a look, see what you guys are up to? So we're walking across to a wooden building at the moment. And what's in here?
This is where we bring the confidential waste. It's unloaded out of the van, weighed and loaded into the shredder in this shed.
OK, and what sort of businesses do you find yourself dealing with in the main?
Well, all sorts, really. Accountants, solicitors, just local businesses of varying degrees of size, really.
Okay.
Doctors, surgeries and vets. Anyone that has paper to deal with, they've got to get rid of it. So.
Offices
and what sort of tonnage are you dealing with at the moment?
Well, we hope to do 100 tonnes in the 12-month period.
Okay.
We started last December and hopefully by the end of November we should have comfortably done 100 tonne this year.
That's quite a feat. That's a lot of paper.
It's a lot of paper, really. Yeah, it is a lot of paper, but we're probably running at, I don't know, what would you say, Di, about a fifth capacity, something like that. We could take a lot more yet.
Do you have a quick flick through of what you're showing?
No. No, we wouldn't dare.
No, absolutely.
The worms don't get a chance either, do they?
No, they don't. No, they're not bothered. All they think about is their tummies.
Right, yeah.
So we've got here a great big conveyor. Presumably this is a kind of feed into the shredder, is it?
Yep, we park the shredder under the conveyor. Right. It's weighed on this platform scales here.
So why would people, I mean, in addition to shredding, why would people think that they need to shred their paper and have someone like you guys come and pick their paper up and get the worms to eat it as well?
Personal data, so personal data is anything like a name and address. That has to be disposed of securely. The Data Protection Act says that they must do that.
Sure.
So I suppose they like us because there's a different side to it. The composting.
It's an environmentally friendly way of dealing with
there's no
confidential
chemicals
material.
used at all or produced.
No emissions.
That's right. Yeah, it sounds nice to have it composted using worms, and there's a product at the end of it that's recycled but not back into paper.
Yeah,
it's all dealt with on site as well. There's nobody else involved.
We're local to them as well.
So it's good.
Yeah.
And how many other companies are doing something similar to you guys in the UK, do you think?
I think there's
very little.
If there's anyone, there's one other company I've heard of in Monmouth that do compost using worms, but it's not solely paper. I think it's curbside collections of green waste and lots of different things.
Okay.
There's lots of confidential shredding companies, but nobody really deals with it in an environmental way.
Double security whammy, isn't it?
Yes, it is really. Yep, that's right.
I often recommend to people, get one of the and do talks and things like that, then they can shred their bank statements and put them into the wormery for that sole purpose. Yeah. So and people get quite excited by that prospect.
I think it gets quite expensive for businesses as well to shred it in-house. They have to shred it to a certain, it has to be quite fine if they're solicitors or accountants. There's a standard in which it has to be shredded to, and not all shredders are capable of doing that, whereas ours is beyond recognition of paper nearly. It's almost dust-like when it's been shredded. Right,
so in it goes. It's like a pulp, almost.
It's like a pulp. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
We'll show you some of that in a moment.
Okay, yes, let's go and have a look now.
Yeah.
Oh wow! So this is incredible. So we're walking out on the other side of the farmyard now, and you've got it's a considerable operation, really. Yes, it's more significant than I imagined it might be. I'm not quite sure what I imagined, but you've got a great big conveyor here and huge piles of, like you say, it's pretty much pulp
paper, isn't it? Yeah. The shredder empties up this elevator, and that's a vibrating screen which the paper drops through, and the plastic, any plastic files, or we take lever arch files with the metalwork in them, and that all goes in the shredder, and then it's separated from the paper. It drops in this skip at the bottom, the metalwork and plastic does, and the paper goes out to the elevator at the end. Great, so you get a chance to take a load to the scrap heap as well. Well, actually, the trade's down, actually. So, it is. But no, it was good back in the summer. Wow, so it's not just paper you pick
pick up then? Folks will give you documents and files containing sensitive information.
Yeah, I mean, when people have a clear out, especially accountants and solicitors, I mean, they haven't got time to pull everything out of plastic wallets and lever arch files, so they just send it all to us. The shredder will deal with it. Nothing's a problem as such.
And the whole lot really gets recycled, doesn't it?
Yeah, it all goes.
Everything has its place.
That's
and
just an
you've got a handful of the lovely squishy stuff there.
Yeah.
So your kids could take this to school and make paper mache.
That's right. Yes.
But that's perfect for worms. It's already damp. They like it damp, and
it is. It's ideal.
Mixed with a bit of...
That's wonderful. Well, I had visions of long strips of shredded paper, something similar to the stuff that we have in our office shredder, but it's nothing like that. I mean, that really has been rendered down to something that's hardly recognisable as paper, hasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
That will be compostable in no time at all, I suppose.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, we mix it with organic matter, sort of cattle muck, apple pumice, just to make it a bit more appetising.
Right, mix a good carbon nitrogen mix, that's all important, yeah.
And then in the summer, they're fed weekly, aren't they?
Yeah, in the summer they shift a lot of paper then. We've got 3 pits in now. We plan to put another one in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
And we've got the worms to stock that one as well.
And if you've got sufficient worms, are they breeding themselves so you can replenish your...
Yeah, we've got plenty of worms ourselves now, yeah.
The shed that we've walked through, we've got small boxes where we intensively breed worms as well, so the compost and the eggs are separated and then they're left to hatch, so we've always got batches to throw into the pits.
But they breed in the pits as well, don't they?
They do breed in the pits now,
It's gone a bit cold for them now. They'll get slower over the winter, as I'm sure you realise.
Right. Especially today. God,
especially up here.
We learnt last year, really, when we had the small boxes breeding, they were escaping in the cold and we were trying to keep them warm with bubble wrap and all sorts of things, and just decided this year we'll stop in the autumn and then start again.
Yeah, that's a good idea, I think.
We've got a stock of worms that we're going to use for next spring.
And the rest will be in the pits for the winter. Snuggled up nice and warm, hopefully.
That's right.
Wonderful. Should we go and see these worms?
Absolutely,
Come on, we'll go back this way.
So you've just peeled back, what is it? A carpet covered in moss. That's a lovely looking. That carpet. I don't think I've ever seen such natural looking carpet.
We've got some like this in the house as well.
And underneath there are quite literally millions of worms.
These are the baby worms, from this last summer that have hatched.
Right. They're doing really well, aren't they?
Normally they're just feeding on the top in a mass, really, and it's been quite cold overnight, so they've
got down in, haven't they, a bit?
Right. But this would be lovely material, probably hanging baskets.
Gorgeous compost, it's wonderful stuff. So what goes into these bins then? What do you? Is this again just a mix of paper and pumice? And,
same mix as we use in the beds, really. We buy sort of worm food in as well. Like a ground corn.
Okay. Right. Yeah, just to give them the protein they need, I guess.
That's right.
Yeah, just to get the young ones growing a bit.
And in the original boxes where I've been breeding the worms, and horse muck and the compost, and I really don't have to do much to them for the rest of the for about a month.
Feed in it, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you can definitely grow worms pretty much exclusively on horse manure, I think. And it's often difficult to grow as many worms as you need to take away from the compost to sell them and get compost at the same time if you're not supplementary feeding. That's the only thing. But certainly lots of folks now, because there's a new situation with horse manure, isn't there? People can't just leave it on the land for any other time. They have to get rid of it. So of course, if we can render it down to the actions of earthworms, then perfect scenario.
Absolutely.
Great. It's funny how I never cease to be amazed by or interested or almost excited by the sight of worms in different settings, which is, I'm not quite sure what that says about me, but they're looking really healthy. You don't know what species they are. I mean, I kind of think I know what species they are, but you...
Well, blue nose worms are what we were told.
Yeah.
So whether there's a more technical name for them, you're probably better placed to
probably is. I mean, there are a species of Icena, a genus Icena, certainly, but I can't quite work out whether they're Icena foetida or Icena andrea. They're quite a small looking worm, but they're a lovely red worm. They're very, very bright. They're brighter than the worms that we supply, actually, so I don't think they're exactly the same species that we supply. But
they are some of the young ones from this year, so I imagine they could get a lot bigger.
So we're wandering across the field now, which is great. What a lovely place you do live in. Very lucky, aren't you, really?
Quite lucky, yes.
Yeah, you just get 5 months of summer and 7 months of winter.
That's the only thing. Yeah. We definitely won't be any. There's no noise or light pollution out here. That's a sure fact. So we're kind of walking across here. Now we've got these. These are massive, great raceways, almost, aren't they? Galvanised, sided.
2 original pits we put in, and that's a slightly cheaper model down there.
Okay. That's the last one. Was that the first one? Or was that the first?
That's the last one.
That's the last one, okay.
Yeah, these have tin sides and tarmac bottoms, but speaking to people, they say you can build the pits a lot cheaper by using the geotextile woven plastic.
Right, okay.
And they seem to work really well in there, don't they, Guy? We've stopped that one. We haven't had that one going very long, but we've stopped it and it seems to go well.
Oh, wow. So these are huge. They're lovely long beds. Oh, look at that.
We're in them now.
Yeah, no. The little wormies have gone down.
They'll be down in the bottom.
What they've done there is...
there you go. Look. Yeah.
You've piled them high with muck and paper, really, for the winter. You won't need to feed them on a weekly basis, and come spring, hopefully, when it starts to warm up, that will almost be a level...
I think you're right.
Pit, and
I think they'll render that down.
That's
now,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, the summer it's amazing to see how quickly they can get through. Through what you put on.
Yeah, like you say, we feed them weekly in the summer, and it's amazing what we can feed them. Really.
And see, you've got some edible fungus growing there.
That's right. Yeah, I'm sure there's all sorts.
You could eat that. I don't know whether you'd want to.
Is it edible?
It is. You can dry it, make lovely soups out of it, sauces and things like that. Yeah, pick it and dry it. Don't do it. No, I've told you to.
It doesn't look very tempting to me, so I think I might just leave it there.
That's right.
Do you think he's after the house?
And you've got this lovely long mat on the top. Your sort of insulating material on the top. Is that Hessian or could be a Koya? Koya, yeah.
That type of thing, but it seems to work well with it.
Yeah.
Well, it allows the rain through it, and they like the darkness.
You're very industrious, haven't you? I can see that you've gone, and you've spied on things that you think might be useful and tried to get them for the best effect.
It was free.
That's right.
I know, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. I was trying to be really, really diplomatic.
I think you're looking at something, maybe a bubble wrap or something that will warm it up a few weeks earlier in the spring that could sit underneath that.
Yeah, in normal circumstances now, the only real way to breed worms is to do it undercover, in climate-controlled environments. So, because they like a sort of fairly consistent temperature, 20 degrees, it's like us. And it's definitely not that today, so these guys are going to be slowing right down.
That's right, yeah.
No, you've put a lot of effort into this, haven't you, though? I can see there's quite a lot of work and thought, and you must have enjoyed it a little bit.
Well, I think you've enjoyed doing something different to the farming, haven't you?
Yeah.
And,
well, that's wonderful. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to show me around anyway.
No, thank you for coming.
It's lovely to meet you both.
Yes, no, thank you.
Wow, it's amazing some of the things that are going on in Herefordshire that you don't know about, isn't it?
So you're trying to tell me that was something that you didn't know about that was going on in Herefordshire?
Can I admit, I think I might have heard of it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
but now I know more.
Yeah, good. Fantastic.
Anyway, shall we have a Montycast?
Let's do that.
Montycast, a weekly fact on wiggliness. In the UK, bird protection law allows the cleaning out of nests from August the 1st to the 31st of January. Another Montycast, a weekly fact on wiggliness. Next week.
Fantastic. Thanks, Monty. Superb. It's nice to hear from you. He's getting on well at school, apparently.
He is indeed.
He was here the other day with his nice little trendy haircut, growing up fast.
But annoying us not annoying, that's not the right word.
No, I think it's right.
Annoying us in the office because he's on half term.
Changing everyone's. I'm glad I've got the laptop now so I can take it out of the office and when I get back it's not abused by Monty and there's all these different files on there and the whole thing's been corrupted. So it works well. Anyway, you've been up to some stuff on Facebook, I noticed, about what is this Bokashi-thon you've been talking about. I'm not entirely sure I get the gist
don't get it, do you?
What you're trying to achieve.
Well, what I'm trying to achieve is trying to work out how fast Bokashi decomposes, because I've asked quite a few people and I've got lots of different answers. So when I wanted to see, because we say that when you Bokashi ferment your kitchen waste and then you dig it into the garden or you put it in your wormery or you put it in your compost bin, then it decomposes really quickly.
Yeah.
So I wanted to find out how quickly.
Okay.
So I thought, well, rather than just do this on my own, I could ask other Wiggly people, or Facebook members, to have a look at their bokashi and do with it what they will, whether it's in the wormery or digging it in or whatever, and then have a look at it and see how fast it breaks down. Right. And I've got about 5 or 6 people now who are monitoring their bokashi, including supposedly you and Heather. Yep. Although I'm not quite sure that you are. Yeah, Richard.
Some of my monitoring programmes are a little bit ad hoc, which is in keeping with my completely inconsistent mind. So it'll be interesting to see, because this time of year in the microbial world, things do tend to slow down, as they do across the board. And from experience, not that I've closely monitored this type of instance, but the pickling process is definitely quicker and more efficient in the summertime than it is at this time of year. But now, because you're doing this and involving several people in this process, then the ideal scenario here is to be able to get some sort of comparative notes between now throughout the winter and the summer next year. We shall see. We shall see what that brings. But in the meantime, when are you likely to get your first results?
My bokashi bin has been sealed for about a week and a half now. So I'll be opening it up at the weekend. Right. So it's been fermenting closed for a week and a half. So I'll be opening it up at the weekend and having a look at it. So I might take some photos. And then I've pulled some broken can of worms trays out of the recycling, and I'm going to try just putting some of the bokashi compost in the worm trays with no compost, no worms, just there. So it's kind of on its own, to have a look and see what happens to that. Okay. And then I might mix some soil in with another bit. And yes, we'll see. So then, I don't know. I'm not approaching this in a very scientific manner.
I think it has the basis of a scientific experiment, certainly. So, and I think it's quite nice. It's not the problem with science. It tends to frighten people, and you're not doing that.
Sterile, isn't it? Science can be a bit sterile, really.
Oh, I don't know. I've had some fun in the labs in my time.
You have been. But now Podchef has made some interesting comments about it, because he thought that perhaps if we were actually observing our experiments, then we would be changing the outcome. Right. So maybe he's got a point, but do you know what?
Possibly, but then, Podchef, he just over confuses things. So as lovely as he is, just ignore any comment he makes.
I think he had a night on Facebook, and posted comments on about 3 different threads at the same time.
He's a great bloke. He's a very interesting chap. He blew up a car battery the other day when he was trying to charge it. That's besides the point.
So you're going to get involved with the bokashi farm, Richard. You're going to let us know what you do with your bokashi bins, and then how quickly it breaks down.
Definitely.
Good.
Okay, so I'll keep you informed.
And if any other listeners want to as well, then Cowan's done a blog on it, which has got some great links to Simon Sherlock's experiment as well, and he's going about it in a very scientific manner, and is measuring the amount of juice he gets and taking photos at all the different stages. Right, good. So have a look, Facebook or the blog. Fabulous. And let us know how you get on.
Okay. Now, the other thing, of course, that happened last week is Lucy Carroll came over from Carroll's Heritage Potatoes. We talked previously about our potato supply, and it was the first time I met Lucy, in fact, and she turned out to be particularly lovely. And I took her into the garden, and as opposed to took her in the garden, which I think is that's what you were laughing about earlier on. And we had this wonderful.
She's not the woman. She's not the woman on Facebook that you've made friends with.
Oh no!
I discovered
I discovered who that was. Yeah, no. So that was someone called Anne McCracken, who's equally lovely. But Anne worked with me on shows previously. She was one of the students that I interviewed ages ago. Anne's a real sort of entrepreneur in her own right. She's got skiing schools in France and all sorts of things. There's all sorts of wonderful things. But that's a shot of her on the slopes. I think it was like an end of ski season party. So she was in this kind of female Flintstones outfit on the slopes. Because I had this friend's request, I thought, I've got no idea who you are, but I'm definitely your friend.
Does Sarah listen to the podcast, Richard?
Yeah, she does. Yeah, no, she knows I'm stupid, so that's fine. She's never long enough to realise that I'm just talking really rubbish. So anyway,
potatoes, heritage potatoes.
We had this great conversation about potatoes, something that Lucy's obviously quite passionate about. So I'm just going to leave that for the listener. Okay, well, we've ventured our way out into the Wiggly Garden on this beautiful autumnal day. And I'm joined by Lucy Carroll of Carroll's Potatoes, nonetheless.
Hi, Richard.
Hello.
Nice to be here.
It's nice to have you here. Yeah, and you've enjoyed your day. I think Heather's treated you to lunch and all sorts of goodies.
Yes, had a good look round, and it's a fantastic setup. I'm really, really impressed.
Good. It's decent of you to come down because you're a long way from home, aren't you?
Yes. It's taken 5.5 hours, but well worth the trip.
Good. But you're not going back tonight anyway.
No, tomorrow.
Right, so making the most of Herefordshire anyway.
Yeah.
We started supplying heritage potatoes last year. And they proved very popular. I mean, we grew some here. We grew some fantastic salad blue potatoes in the Wiggly garden.
Good.
And subsequently, you've told me you might have problems supplying those this year, which is great. But hopefully, we'll get some off you again.
Yes, it's all down to having the seed. We grow the seed in Fife, and the seed needs to be inspected. It's certified. Proper certified seed, heritage potato seed.
Okay.
So some years it's very successful and other years it's not. And obviously with these heritage varieties, the older varieties, they're more susceptible to unfortunately not passing the grade.
What's the grade then?
Well,
what's the criteria for
don't go too deep here, but they have to be virus free. I mean, there's probably it's much more complicated than that, but the inspectors from potato councils, etc., come to actually inspect the crops. So they have to pass tests to be able to become certified seed for us to sell the seed to gardeners.
Right. So presumably they've got to be sure that they're not hybridised with anything.
Exactly. They've got to go through different loops through their growing period.
And of course, you guys are leaf farmers as well, aren't you?
We are, yes, linking environment and farming. That's the way we farm at home, with leaf mark accreditation. But seed is really a new part of our business.
Right.
We sell potatoes for eating,
Yep.
heritage varieties of potatoes for eating to the public mail order, but also to restaurants, chefs all over Britain, and a few retail outlets. And it's really through the public demand that we now sell seed for people to grow their very own.
Okay.
We have been receiving lots and lots of calls over the last 2 years. Do you sell seed? And we were saying no. And then we thought, well, I think it's time we started to say yes. And together with Heather, we talked about making the seed available to, this heritage seed available to the public to buy.
Certainly.
That's why this has happened.
Yeah, and you must have your favourites. I mean, do you get fed up with potatoes? Or,
No.
I remember many moons ago I used to work on a fish farm, and we had 300 tonnes of trout in the fish farm, and none of us would ever go down and kill one to eat. Because the last thing we want to do is eat trout. But
yes. I try not to have a favourite because they're like my children. They're all very, very important.
Okay.
They all have good points and bad points.
I'm sure your kids would really enjoy being likened to a spud.
Yeah, they won't. They won't like that. But I mean, they're all good for different things.
Right.
So you've got, the very flowery Dunbar Rover, very tasty, really dry, makes fantastic roast potatoes.
Okay.
And then you've got Pink Fir Apple, which is very waxy and got a nutty flavour. And then you've got Sharps Express, which is an early variety, so that would be harvested a bit earlier, and that's a new season variety. So they've all got their own place, and I wouldn't want to have a favourite because they're all wonderful. They've all got character and great qualities that really to have a favourite would be unfair to the rest of them.
Right, okay.
I can't have, they've all got great points.
No one could say you're slightly biased about your potatoes.
Very biased.
Pink. You were telling me about. I meant to grow some pink fir apples this year, and I didn't get around to it.
Yes.
I think possibly because of space was a bit of a premium in my garden when it came around to the chance of getting them in the ground. But you said because one thing that pink fir apples have lots of sort of multiple roots, kind of a slightly distorted shape.
They're very knobbly in shape, so they're quite unusual as a potato in shape. And as I say, the flavour of pink fir apple is lovely. It's not the potato you would peel. I think we were discussing earlier.
Yeah,
so difficult to peel. I said, Richard, no, you don't peel pink fir apple.
So you quite literally sort of push the skin off with your fingers, or just leave the skin on, just clean
brush them.
Okay.
Yeah, just a little brush if you've got a potato scrubber.
Okay.
And if not, then look on our website. You can buy one.
I'm not sure. I'm thinking that's a Wiggly product. Why aren't we selling potato scrubbers?
We can find you some.
They're your own design, or?
No, they're not. No, I found them online, and I now have them for sale.
I think it's an accompanying product.
Well, it's useful. They're very useful. Together with a potato storage bag.
Okay.
We have those as well.
Potato accessories.
But really, because I mean, again, we've been drawn to having these things and supplying these things because our customers have asked for them, and you know, they've had problems with storage. So, you know, we sell little bags which contain 3 kilos of potatoes with a zip up the side. They're black inside, they're breathable, and the potatoes stay in the dark.
Right.
So it's very important you store your potatoes in a dry, dark
certainly.
place.
Yeah. Wonderful. Okay. Well, personally, I'm looking forward to trying a couple of new varieties next year.
You must grow some more yourself, Richard.
Yeah. I will endeavour to do that. Well, thanks for it.
Okay, I'm looking forward to working with you this next season, and hope your customers enjoy them.
Cheers, Lucy.
Yeah, brilliant.
Thanks for that, Richard. I'm really looking forward to planting some of these potatoes next year, and I think that's it from us, isn't it?
I think it is. I think it's definitely a bye-bye from me.
And a bye-bye from me.